Hey, welcome to everybody. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. We have a great class that we will be presenting for CE credit for those CAMs in attendance. We have great sponsors that have all participated in this event for you, so we'll do a sponsor introduction shortly. Before that, I do want to cover some housekeeping items. First of all, my name is Steve Mason. I'm one of your presenters today, but I'm helping out Peggy. Peggy, who put this together, and she's not feeling well. So I'm gonna take the reins for Peggy, but I want to take this time to thank Peggy for all her efforts in putting this together for all of us as part of this program. But just some housekeeping items. As your presenter, we do offer CE credits as mentioned. This is going to be for an OPP credit, 1 hour credit at the end. So make sure we have your CAM numbers. Just please allow roughly 2 weeks before those credits get uh, reported to the DBPR. All sponsor info will be sent out, so you'll have all the information of all of our sponsors that help put this together. Again, this is a group effort. We firmly believe, and myself personally, as a prior CAM, that you should have your list of professionals together for any and all types of events, and this is why we do events like this, so you get to know more professionals, vendors in the industry to help you out for all types of situations. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our sponsors to say a couple words before we get started with our presentation. And I'm going to go first on my list, and we're going to talk. Let's introduce Daniel Baum from COA Solutions. Daniel, you're muted. There you go.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. All right. Well, thanks, Stephen. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Gil, for having me today. Nice to see everybody as always. Um, Happy Wednesday. My name is Daniel Baum. I'm the founder of COA Solutions of Florida. I specialize in property and casualty insurance for condominiums, HOAs, and multifamily properties. My job, as I see it, is to help you find the best possible insurance coverage at the lowest possible price and to help you communities lower your premiums wherever possible by analyzing your documents, your current coverage, especially your appraisals and wind mitigation reports, and find ways to lower your premiums. Sometimes because I find errors, sometimes because you're not getting credits, but anything I can do to lower that premium. And of course, looking at all possible carriers. It's been, I hate to say this, knock on wood, it's been a great hurricane season so far. We haven't had any problems at the moment. Let's hope it stays that way. If it does, I hope to see continued reduction on the property side. We certainly paid the price in 2021 and 2022, so it's nice to get more reductions after last year. You should have seen reductions on property last year. If you didn't, then you need to be shopping your policies and you need to have another professional look at them. I'm happy to do that without any cost, without signing any documents if you'd like me to. Um, that's it from me. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful show. You have two great presenters today. Um, Definitely take notes. You'll learn a lot. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Daniel. Next, we have Jamie Gelfand from First Citizens Bank.
Hi, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jamie Gelfand. I'm the Regional Sales Officer at First Citizens Bank. First Citizens is a 125-year-old top 20 bank. In the CAB, Community Association Bank Division, we provide loans and lockbox to HOAs, condos, and co-ops. If you're working on any projects and need assistance in financing, please give me a call. We don't require you to move your banking relationship. My information will be in the chat, and Steve and Gil absolutely put on a great class. Enjoy.
Thanks, Jamie. Um, and to say to just to on top of what Daniel said earlier, yes, great hurricane season for everybody else. No, I'm just kidding. There is one out there though, but it's looking to make a right turn. So hopefully it'll stay the same path to keep us out of harm's way. Next, Dylan Pena from PD Concrete.
Thank you, Steve and Peggy, for the introduction. My name is Dylan. I'm the business developer for PD Concrete Specialist. We're proud to be in business for over 20 years. Now, we specialize in concrete restoration, waterproofing, and post-tension cable repair. We also assist with the 40, 50, 60-year recertification process to ensure your property remains compliant and safe. One thing that sets us apart, though, is that we do not use subcontractors. All of our employees are in-house. This is to ensure quality work for every step of the way. We have two offices in South Florida, one in Aventura and one in West Palm Beach. If you need to contact me, I will leave my information in the chat box below. And thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Steve.
Great. Thanks, Dylan. Who else is next on my list? Ruthie Andal from Kaiser AC. You got to unmute, Ruthie. There you go.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello, everyone. Thank you, as always, Peggy, for your efforts to connect us all with the right people within the property manager community. And thanks to you, Steve, for taking the lead today. I'm Ruthie, and I'm proud to represent Kaiser Air Conditioning. We serve Broward, Palm Beach, Martin, and St. Lucie counties. And we have a lot of experience working with property managers and engineers on site, whether it be condo or residential communities with multiple buildings on property. As a company in business for more than 20 years, we're always working to improve our process and provide five-star service to every single customer. So with the current leadership in place, we've made great strides from an operational standpoint, ensuring we communicate, show up on time, and just provide the type of service that stands out. We want you to feel the difference when you're interacting with the Kaiser team. So our goal is to really have a long-term relationship and make your life easier. So just a reminder, we're open every single day, including weekends and holidays for any of those emergencies. This is valuable as we go into the holiday season. And in most cases, we can service you the same day. So don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. I can be that direct line of communication for you to make sure everything runs smoothly. And I'll leave my information in the chat. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ruthie. And next on my list is Shawnee Haas from Onion Painting and Contracting.
Hi, I'm Shawnee. I'm the marketing manager at Munyon Painting. For almost 75 years, Munyon Painting has been helping Florida communities look their best with high quality exterior and interior painting services for both residential communities and commercial properties. We service condos, HOAs, and we also paint individual residential homes. We're very passionate about protecting properties, and we love partnering with boards and managers to keep their communities sharp and well maintained. It's going to be a wonderful presentation today, and I hope you all learn a lot. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shawnee. I think next on my list is Cam Andres from Best Roofing.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you, everybody. My name is Cameron Andres. I do business development for Best Roofing. We are a commercial roofing contractor based in Fort Lauderdale for the past 47 years, servicing the Tri-County, and now expanding to service the rest of Florida. So if you have any re-roof, repair, recovery, or preventative maintenance plan needs for your roofs, whether that's commercial or single-family home, we'd be happy to help you out and get the ball rolling. Enjoy your class today.
Thanks, Cameron. Next, we have Bob Aleka from Faster.io.
Thanks, Steve. Good afternoon, all. Bob Aleka here with Faster.io. We provide streaming TV, internet to condos and HOAs. What makes us different is that our TV product can be taken not only anywhere in the United States, but anywhere in the world. No property is too small for us. We provide a lot of symmetrical speeds for all our internet speeds. So no matter how small you are, we're willing to speak with you. So if you're looking for proposals, please give me a call. I'll leave my information in the chat, and enjoy the class.
Nice. And finally, for those sponsors that are here in person from Vinteum, let's go to Laura Malagan.
Hi guys, how are you today? My name is Laura. I'm an accounting executive here at Vinteum. We specialize in providing software and services to HOAs, property managers, condominiums, and of course, property management companies. We have helped more than 300 communities across the U.S. to be legally compliant with their state regulations. And of course, we work with more than around 15 property management companies here in the state of Florida for over 11 years now. As most of you know by now, the new Florida law update states that by January the 1st of 2026, associations with 25 or more units We'll be legally required to have a website and a password protected portal with important documents available to residents. And here at Vinteum, we're proud to be, providers that completely understand these needs and are actually already helping a lot of communities to be compliant to this law. So if any of you guys, as property managers or as board members, need help with, complying to this, giving a website to your community, giving a portal for your residents, helping your residents with having a better communication within their community, this is what we do. This is what we specialize in. We can definitely help you guys out with all of that, okay? We will give you some of our information and contact information on the chat. So if you would like to, discuss the needs that your community is having at the moment, we can definitely help you out with that.
Thanks, Laura. And then finally, I'm going to mention our sponsors who weren't able to be here in person today. So I'm going to go down the list of those real quickly, starting with Nicole Johnson from Hayfer and Company CPA firm. So those of you that need a CPA or looking, Nicole's great. She's been doing this for many, many years. I used her when I was a property manager back in the day. So give Nicole a call. The next one is Dawn Miller from the Paving Ladies. So if you have any needs of re-asphalting, restriping, curbing, any road work, Dawn, she's been great. Paving Lady's been around forever. Dawn's been there forever. Very professional team when it comes to repaving your streets. Next, we have Ben Friedman from City Quiet Windows. If you're looking to upgrade your property to storm windows or impact windows, again, this is another contractor back in my property management day I used to redo a whole building in South Beach, and it went very well. Ben's very professional, stands by his work product. Next, Siobhan Gonzalez from United Professional Engineering. If you need any type of structural engineer for either whether milestone inspection or if you have a concrete restoration job coming up, give Siobhan a call and talk to them, United Professional Engineering. Let's see, Dana Hamill for Pack on the Go. Dana is Pack on the Go will help pack up a property if you had preparing for a hurricane or if you had some sort of property disaster and you need to get things cleaned. Dana's very good with that. Next, Rick Hogan from Velocity Services Group. Velocity is an emergency mitigation company. They'll come in after a hurricane and help with the cleanup efforts and mitigate any type of loss. Rick has been around, Velocity's been around for a long, long time. They know what they're doing. Great company. Next, Guillermo Pabon from Alanek Railings. Alanek's been around again. Guillermo's a great person to do business with. And I think that's all of them. Yep, everybody else you met. So without further ado, before we start the course, I want to give one final thank you to all of our sponsors. Again, this would not be possible without them. I see we have a good group on the line now. We have 71 attendees. So we're looking forward to talking about insurance claims, and we try not to make it boring. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Gil Shalmon. Gil's going to start off the program. Gil's great. He's been doing this for many, many years. He and I have been all over South Florida trying to educate managers and board members on proper claims, and I'll let Gil take it from here to talk a little bit about us.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on today. Like Steve said, my name is Gil Shalmon. I've been a public adjuster with Altieri Insurance Consultants for a little more than 5 years now. Hopefully we can impart some useful knowledge that you can take back to your properties as we wrap up storm season this year. So let's kind of get started. So just a quick background about our company. We've been in business since 1988. We're corporately based in Tampa. We have an office in South Florida here, Fort Lauderdale, another one in Ocala. We have an office in Nashville, as well as Toms River, New Jersey. If you want to check out our Google ratings and Google reviews, you'll see plenty of pleased clients that we have. We're also very involved in a national and state level through NAPIA, which is the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters, and FAPIA, which is the Florida Association, as well as CAI with Steve's experience. Collectively, we have more than 30 licensed adjusters, most of whom came from the insurance carrier side and have switched over. So that really helps us when it comes to putting together our claim packages and negotiating settlements with the carriers. They trust our work product. They we have these longstanding relationships, having their employees come work for us. So we're able to generate really positive results for our clients. We also offer a variety of services. And if you take a look at the map, those are all the states that we currently hold licenses in. It probably needs to be updated. We also hold licenses in California and Hawaii at this point. And our general mission and marketing statement that we usually like to promote is we'd like to advance our clients' claims through precision, persistence, and professionalism. So that's what you get when you bring us on board. A little bit more, one of the things we really pride ourselves in is our industry leadership and being involved advocating for insurance policy holders on a state and national level. So just this past week, one of our vice presidents was named the president of the Florida Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. We have several people who are also on the board to be, on the ladder to be the president of the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. And the founder of our company was actually chosen by his peers as the first president of the Florida Association of Public Adjusters when they founded the group back in 1991. So we're very well respected industry-wide and from the carriers who understand the legitimacy of our work product and what that means for you guys. Should you decide to bring us on, if you ever suffer property damage, is professional claims representation and positive results. So here's an example of why we exist. These are just headlines that I've been capturing over the last couple of years. I'm sure having been on, having managed properties or sitting on boards of condos, you've seen your insurance premiums go up, probably seen these headlines of insurance companies not wanting to pay. There was a 60 Minutes segment following Hurricane Ian on systemic carrier side fraud. This isn't to scare you, and it's not to talk negatively about insurance agents, right? Your insurance agents and your brokers are binding the best policies they can. What you have to understand is that is a separate department from the claims department within those companies. So they're looking out for your best interest. They're working with you guys to find value and place the right policies. It's just when it comes to actually filing a claim and having to prove your claim, a lot of things can go sideways. And there have been issues with getting insurance companies to pay, especially following, massive storms and large scale disasters. So that's why we exist, to advocate on your behalf and make sure that claims process goes smoothly. A little about me. I'm originally from Chicago, went to the University of Kentucky for undergrad, did my grad degree down here at FAU. I've been an adjuster for 8 years. You can see the states that I'm currently licensed in. And I've spoken at several conferences in the past. In a past life, I used to work in sports and music. And in my free time, I'm a avid pickleball player, terrible golfer, and I'm a big live music fiend. And I belong to the Fish cult. So I've been over 60 shows, hopefully hit 60 more. But now let's kind of kick it over to Steve, and he can kind of take it from there.
To be young again.
Yeah.
My background is I was one of you. I was in association management. I started in 1999 working for the Continental Group, which was one of pretty much two companies that were down here at that time. I worked for in the property management industry for just over 20 years when I realized I was ready for a career change and I can be more helpful from the outside. As you see, I'm a very pro with CAI. As Gil mentioned, I'm the past president of the Southeast Florida chapter. Now I'm part of the CAI National Business Partner Council. And education, I firmly believe in, and where I love teaching classes today. I joined the Altieri group almost 4 years ago, and I love them, and they're like family. It is a family company. I tell people I found my tribe with them when you see all the volunteer hours they put into fighting bad legislation, which is very similar to what I do through CAI. Through that vehicle, I found a lot of similarities in my beliefs and ethics that I found with the Altieri family. So it was a match made in heaven, and I couldn't be happier working there. So I get your expectations, I wish I knew more about public adjusters when I was in property management, but there were no active companies doing education like this, getting out there, teaching managers why you should have representation. We're going to go into this presentation, and eventually there's a section we'll talk about what exactly we do and why it's so beneficial and why you should have proper representation when facing a property damage loss. So without further ado, we're going to go through a couple things in the course outline. Gil, did you want to do this section or the later section?
No, you can do it.
All right, let's talk about the uniqueness of condos and HOA and the insurance cycle as a whole. Everybody knows that you have to have condominium insurance or HOA insurance for the common areas. You know who you buy it from, you know who your agent is. How do you know if you have enough? And how do you know when to use it? You know, especially in the last couple of years, people were afraid to file claims because they were so worried about, oh, I'm going to get dinged on an increase, and if I use it, or they may cancel me. Don't make those decisions. You know, you have insurance professionals such as your agent and or us, a PA firm that we do a lot of consultant work as well. You know, that's why we're here, just so we can help you with those type of decisions. With condos and HOAs, you have the responsibility to insure those common areas. Whether they're limited or not, they have to be insured, you know, so says the Florida statute. With condominiums and specifically, everybody knows 718 and 111 talks about the whole insurance section. You own your individual unit, but as I mentioned, all that undivided interest known as common areas has to be insured. Those of you that live in buildings, those of you that have been managing a lot of properties, you understand this process. Hopefully you haven't had the case to where you had to file an insurance claim, but if you do, we're going to talk about more about that and how you better can represent yourself and protect the association. Let's go on to the next one. The Declaration, which is the Bible of the Condominium Association, and everything make up your condo docs. How many owners have actually read the condo docs? None, right? You know, they only open it until when they get that violation letter. But there's a lot of specifics in there that you as a manager or as a board member should understand on the general level. And we're talking about, you know, insured requirements. You know, we're talking about whose responsibility is what, and we're going to cover all that as part of this course. Minimum requirements. This is a statute I love talking about all the time because a lot of managers, nor did I at the time when I was managing, understood what is covered under an insurable loss. So the bold section here, any portion of the condominium property must be insured by the association. And the key words here, if you keep going, which is damaged by an insurable event. So any type of insurable event is insured by the association. And where I'm getting at with this is a lot of people don't understand. And when I'm in a classroom settings, I'm like, how many of you think that windows and sliding glass doors are a unit owner responsibility or association responsibility? And a lot of people say unit owners. And I say, most likely it's the unit owner's responsibility to maintain your windows and sliding glass doors. But in an underinsurable event, they are covered by the association's insurance policy because they are part of three elements that protect the property, the building envelope in itself, which is concrete, windows and sliding glass doors, and your roof. All of that is insured under the insurance policy, and that helps you. And again, don't make this decision on your own. Hire the professionals to make the decision whether you have a viable claim, whether it be from a hurricane or just a major storm. You know, South Florida, we have weird weather down here and all kinds of weird storms happening. And it's just been crazy the last couple of years, and it just seems to be getting weirder. But if you suffered water damage or water infiltration, have someone look at it. Don't make the determination, oh, it's just a couple leaks, no big deal. Your system may have been compromised, and that's insured by the association's insurance policy. Minimum requirements, again, we talked, you need to carry replacement cost value to cover all those common elements. And of course, unit owners know they're supposed to insure their own units via an HO6 policy. How many of them have one? It's not mandated, unfortunately. They tried to mandate it 1 year and it was a big cluster mess. And it's like, no, they rescinded it immediately. But all portions of the condominium property, as originally installed or replacement of kind and like quality, is in accordance with the original plan specification. This is the type of things and why that's bolded. And I'm gonna give you a quick example of a plan we worked on. And this is the language that we argued. It was a major water loss in a high rise in Miami, and the pipe burst and was HVAC water, and it flooded about 60 units. And we were able to argue that the interior doors of each of these units should be covered under the policy, all the ones that were damaged. And they were like, no, that's inside the unit. Drywall in is the key word. That's all that's insured. And we're like, no, but the interior doors were part of the original installed um, components inside the association. And then we were only, they weren't going to insure them. And we're arguing, yes, it's original installation. And we went back and forth a couple of times. So they agreed that, okay, we'll pay for the removal and disposal of the doors. And I'm like, well, if you're agreeing to that, then you should also agree to replace the doors. It took a battle, but we were able to get them to add another $43,000 to that claim for the interior doors. These are the type of reasons you need professional assistance in these type of claims, because those are little loopholes and just intricacies within the Florida law that we're able to argue on your behalf. Carpets is another fundamental one, especially for older properties and you don't have replacement carpet of the same. And who's going to argue whether all the carpets should replace or just the one floor? Well, they have to match. That's what we do. So again, hire a public adjuster when you have any type of loss, just even as a consultant base. Hopefully it's us. And I tell everybody, I'm not here to take away business from another PA. I'm here to develop a relationship with you. If you have a great relationship with a public adjuster and you love them and they do great work, fantastic. You're making the right decision on bringing a public adjuster in. If you don't, I'd love to be that guy to have a great relationship with you to move on. Do you have a program that helps your association understand those insurance policies and coverages? That's something that we launched. We launched a program that gives you a basic snapshot of all the limits and endorsements of the association policy. That's absolutely free and no charge. So we'd love to talk about that a little bit later. But I don't want to harp on what we do. I want to harp on making sure you have that program. You yourselves, those of you that are managers, should have a basic understanding of what your deductibles are. What's your deductible, not just for hurricane? Don't get me that 3 or 5%. What's your deductible for water loss? Those have been fluctuating tremendously just for that type of loss. What's your deductible for all other perils and all other causes of loss, whether it's fire, vandalism, whatever? You should know those type of things and what your limits are. We reviewed a policy that had a sewage backup limit of only $5,000, and this is a $70 million high-rise building. I'm like, if you have a sewage backup limit in this lobby, you're spending 30 grand just to clean it up, loan enough the reconstruction part, but you only have a $5,000 limit. It opens their eyes. Again, have professionals review your policy and work with you. Use us, your agents and us, and utilize our knowledge and expertise.
So yeah, we're going to kind of jump into disaster preparedness. Steve kind of touched on, what to look out for in your policies and what to understand. As it pertains, most of this is going to be pertaining to hurricanes, but these do cut across, all types of claims. And one of the big issues we run into is understanding, is basically having a big disconnect between what the unit owners think is the responsibility of the association and what their responsibilities are, and basically who pays for what. And when we're talking about hurricanes, you're not going to be dealing with just one claim. You're going to have two claims because you're going to have flood damage as well as wind. So when an association sustains damage from a hurricane and there's two ongoing claims, there's a lot of confusion of like, okay, between what's flood paying for, what's wind paying for, what's the association covering, what's the unit owner's responsibilities. So when we get involved in part of our pre-loss program, we'd like to send this guide out to our associations that basically outline what those responsibilities are and who's paying for what. And this tends to help clear up a lot of the confusion that associations may have. And this document's about 5 pages long. We're not going to click through all of them, but it kind of gives you an idea of what is and what isn't covered by most policies. After Hurricane Hilton and Helene and Milton last year over on the West Coast, we helped about 40 associations, and previously with Hurricane Ian, we worked more than 150. And one of the big things that we've seen is a lot of associations who didn't think they were in a flood zone or were mandated to get flood insurance did not purchase it. If there's anything you walk away with from this presentation is please get flood insurance, whether it's your personal home or a house or your personal unit. Please get flood insurance. And obviously for these associations, please buy a flood policy. It's relatively inexpensive compared to your wind and all perils policy. And it also covers a lot of items. And the difference between having this policy and not having it can be millions of dollars of uncovered damage that the association is going to have to make up and pay for through assessments or loans, and it can put them in a huge fiscal bind. So, please talk to your agent about binding flood coverage. And just because it's, your property may be inland, you're still susceptible to flooding. There were properties in Orlando that flooded after Helene and Milton, and that's about 100 miles inland. So just understand, especially in South Florida, our infrastructure is not the best. We see flooding from just basic storms. So imagine what it would be like in a hurricane situation. Like, do not leave yourself exposed to those type of damages.
Yeah, to emphasize what Gil is saying, the flood mapping makes no sense. So, like, aside from being inland, if you're not required to have flood insurance and that's what you're told because of the mapping, does not mean don't have it. I mean, Gil and I stood in living rooms on the West Coast after Hurricane Ian, where this building wasn't required to it, but the three buildings next to it were required. So this building, which is unfortunately the one that called us, didn't have flood insurance because they weren't required. And we're sitting there and there's fish in their living room. And we're like, you don't have insurance, so understand the difference of what flood covers versus wind. It's just completely different animal. Again, that's what we're here to help you decipher, but absolutely consider getting that flood policy. Like Gil said, it's relatively inexpensive. So talk to your agents about that.
Yeah, and especially if you have units, if you have older buildings and there's units on the first floor, it's extremely important to get a flood policy to cover those. It's very specific in what it will cover, basically outlines 14 items that will be covered. There's a lot of nuances when it comes to flood in terms of like older buildings and finishes and that type of stuff. But we have several people on our team who used to be NFIP flood adjusters for over a decade. So they're much more well versed in flood than Steve and I are, but they're the ones who come in and kind of handle this stuff. But just understand that it's very specific and broken down into what they will and won't pay for. So yeah, now we're going to dive into what to do. Should you sustain damage? In the actual process of handling the insurance claim. So, Steve, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, and obviously we're going to talk a little bit about storms, even though we're at the end of storm season, but this goes for a lot of claims like fire loss claims, maybe a pipe burst, like the example I gave earlier, for any type of property damage, but storms is always the most costly one. So the dues, like I mentioned, know the basics of your policy and maintain hard copies. I'm old school. I like that important binder. We leave the office. What if we have no power? We have no email. We have no cell phone. We can't get, if you hire us, the first thing I'm going to ask for, do you have a copy of your policy? We're like, it was like I had it electronic. Just at least the declaration page, if anything, but keep that emergency binder and put that insurance policy in that binder. So you have that hard copy. So in case, just to have it, if you can't get it electronically, it's always great to have it. Always know your basic evacuation plans. Those of you that are coastal, I'm sure you're well informed of that. identified potential building hazards. And guys, the time to do that is before hurricane season. So if you got any loose debris on the roof or anything, or if you're in the middle of a construction project, make sure your contractor, it's in the contractual language that, demobilization is included in the event of an imminent threat of a storm. Because any type of hazard, whether it's blown through your window, whether it can be lifted by wind, it will go through somebody's window or building. Pictures and videos, take those before the storm. The biggest reason claims get denied, aside from not reaching your high deductibles, is don't have any proof of pre-loss conditions. The insurance companies now are looking for reasons to deny your claim. So having that documentation and that benchmark of what your property condition is before storm is so, so important and expedites your claim so much quicker. So when I say a benchmark condition report, you can call it a precondition report. Just make sure a licensed structural engineer walks your property and checks out those 3 important elements that I discussed: concrete, windows, and sliding doors, and roof. Hopefully you're having monthly or annual roof inspections done by your roofing contractor. Keep those reports forever. Anything having to do with any type of structural integrity of your property, keep those reports forever. And even HOAs, if you have clubhouses or perimeter wall or any repairs that have been done, I know we only have it to keep reports for 7 years. Keep them electronically, keep them forever, because they paint a story that the association is doing its diligence by maintaining the property properly per the Florida statutes, and the insurance company can't ever claim, well, now that roof was not maintained properly, and they will. I mean, there's books that have been published that talks about delay, deny, defend is the name of a book that came out that talks about the insurance company on the tactics that they pull to delay, eventually deny, and have to defend in court. That's what we want to avoid. Obviously, emergency contacts information, and like I said earlier, having your vendors in place. If you don't have your vendors in place, this is why you have great sponsors on this webinar. Get to know who we are. You have a roofer on this webinar, you have an engineer that's a sponsor, you have all type of trades here. This is the type of time to develop those relationships if you don't already have them.
I'd also like to add, when we were talking about, taking pre-loss pictures and videos as like a storm's coming in, relaying that to your unit owners or renters, just any of the tenants, make sure that they go through their units as well, and take video and photos of the condition of their individual units, because that'll help with their individual claims, but also on a larger scale, when we have to come in and basically evaluate every single unit, having that documentation can be very, very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, take your safety measures. Your safety, your health, your property is much more important. So take care of your homes, then take care of your properties. Follow mandatory evacuation structures. We know that there are residents that just simply will refuse to evacuate. It is what it is, and unfortunately, you can't help those residents that refuse to evacuate. Some people find out the hard way, and unfortunately, during Hurricane Ian in Fort Myers, a lot of people in Captiva and Sanibel did not want to evacuate, and they learned the hard way, unfortunately. So please take it very, very seriously, and make sure you communicate that very serious evacuations are all followed, and mandatory, and make sure they leave that property, because you never know, that storm takes a turn the last second, and it happens here all the time. Happened with Hurricane Ian. Everybody thought it was going to hit Tampa. It went south and hit South Florida. Go back to 1992. Happened with Hurricane Andrew. Everybody in Broward thought they were going to hit, and it went south last minute and hit Cutler Bay and Homestead very hard. So you just don't know. Please evacuate, and obviously contact all your emergency organizations as necessary. The biggest do we're going to emphasize is, contact your PA as well, because there's no better advantage to help you quarterback a situation in this time of destruction. Communication after the storm is key. Most of you have management data software platforms already, whether it's, I think we have Vinteum is one of the best. So if you don't have that management data software, get it. You can send email blasts through it anywhere in the country. Hopefully your residents have evacuated. Most residents will just go to a different state. They like to know when it's safe to come home. Again, we talked about identifying potential life safety issues. Your first job as a manager after taking care of your own home and your own families is restoring building functions. Set a station where you're going to work out of. If you have no power, you need power. Identify damage areas and potential mitigation solutions. Again, bring in the help. That's what public adjusters do. We'll come in and we'll help identify you. If you need contractors, we'll help with contractors. Of course, you got great contractor. You have Velocity that's part of this group here. They specialize in dam mitigation solutions for damaged areas and so forth. Preserving evidence is so key, and this is after any type of loss because people are always looking to sue somebody or subrogate against another insurance company. So if you have evidence you need to preserve, whether it's from a fire or a pipe burst, just keep everything. Do not throw away anything. Review your post checklist. Make sure you check all the boxes. If you work with a management company, most management companies have them. We have them for you as well. If you like one of ours, please contact us. We understand this is an emotional challenge. So those of you that have been through a storm, you're veterans. Those of you that have not, it's not. It's a challenge, 100%, not just physically, but emotionally. Having a trusted partner or partners to get you through this process is so advantageous. And this is, again, why we do events like this and classes like this to form that relationship with you and to help you.
And it's also, critically important to set realistic expectations with, your boards and your residences and your residents, to let them know, everybody wants to get in right away. Everybody wants to have repairs made and, get back into the building and have it restored in a month or two. That's just not a realistic expectation. It's going to take anywhere from 3 months to a year. Every situation is different. And it's going to be slow and long and arduous. And everyone just kind of has to be patient and kind of take deep breaths and understand, it's going to be a long road ahead. When we talk about life safety and mitigation, this is an association we helped after Hurricane Ian. As you can see, basically the entire first floor was blown out. So there's just a lot of hazards and, things that can cause bodily injury. There's wires everywhere. There's sinkholes. So it can be extremely dangerous the first time you get back out there. So, take every precaution. Go out there with a fire department and a trusted mitigation company like Velocity and, safety first. And make sure, there's nothing that can cause injury or death when you get back onto the property. We already talked about kind of assembling your team. These are just some key traits to have. Obviously, we're public adjusters. We want to be on your team. But having security after a lot of storms, there's a lot of looters that come in. There's all types of fly-by-night contractors that may be coming out to the property and trying to solicit. So depending on your coverages, security may be covered and you can kind of set up a fence with a check-in gate. You'll want to have a roofer that you can reach out to, electrician, elevator, HVAC, and emergency services. Make sure you have these people lined up because when a storm hits, they're going to be getting blown out from all different directions, and you want to make sure your property is getting serviced with a priority response agreement.
One of the reasons why we have public adjuster right on the top is we make sure the work is being done is work that's properly covered by your insurance policy. Like Gil just alluded to, a lot of contractors will come in from out of state, just trying to help, sign here and sign here. They cannot dictate your insurance policy. They cannot interpret your insurance policy. That's actually against the law. Having a trusted advisor manage it properly. Like I'll give you an example. After Hurricane Ian, there were tons of mitigation companies out there with generators. Here, you need a generator. Here, you need a generator. Well, let me tell you, temporary and emergency power is not covered under the insurance policy. Associations were getting $80,000, $100,000 invoices and getting lien for that. for that emergency generator. And again, this is part of the policy review and knowing the basics of what's covered, what's not covered, just so you don't get hit with that unexpected invoice. And so important again to have your proper representation. This is a question we like to ask all the time. Would you let the IRS do your taxes? No, of course not. Why would you let the insurance company dictate how much they're going to pay you on a claim? You shouldn't. You should have your own representation.
And, understand it's on you or the policyholder or the association to justify and prove your claim. So you have to put it together and substantiate what you're claiming and how much it costs. And that's essentially what we do. So, there's three types of adjusters. There's staff claims adjusters. So those are people who work directly for the insurance company. They are employees of State Farm or Allstate. There's independent adjusters, which are basically contracted third parties that will go out there and assess the damage and come up with an estimate and then send that back to Allstate or State Farm. These IAs do not have the ability to cut checks. That decision goes back to the desk adjuster or a staff claims adjuster who then makes a determination on, their findings based on the IA's report on how much they want to pay. And then lastly, there's public adjusters like us who are licensed through the state to represent the insurance policyholder. And this is a governmental study that they did about a decade ago that showed, of claims that occurred. People who used a public adjuster received about 750% more on their insurance claim payment. So that's essentially the difference that we make. And we have some case studies that further prove this, but that's for later.
But the irony behind that report was the insurance company is the one who engaged this third-party company to do the study to prove that public adjusters were not needed, that they were paying sufficient amounts on their claims. And it backfired on them. As you saw that result, can you back up on that slide one more time, Gil? Because I want to really emphasize this. When the insurance company does a study, this is called the OPAGA report, does a study to prove that PAs are not needed. Look how much it backfired. It showed when you have a public adjuster engaged, your payout is on average 747% more than the initial offer by the insurance company. That's astronomical when you're looking at dollars and cents. And like Gil said, you're going to see some case studies where we show that we've been directly involved in.
So here's some key landmines to avoid. We've seen a lot of claims go sideways when associations kind of ignore some major red flags. So, we talked about deductibles earlier. Understand what those limits and those deductibles are. And then, talk to your agent about potentially getting a deductible buyback policy. Essentially, what that is you can buy down your deductible. It's almost like a hedge against your deductible. Understand your duties in the event of a loss. So that's typically outlined in your policy. And failure to comply with your duties and responsibilities in the event of a loss can result in one, possible denial of the claim, or two, a lower payment on some aspects of the claim. So, make sure you're doing your part. One of the big things under your duties in the event of the loss is properly mitigating the damage so it doesn't get worse. You can't just have, a massive hole in the roof for a couple weeks. You got to make sure you shore that up as quickly as possible, because they'll come in and they'll say, well, we're only going to pay for the damage that occurred there, but your failure to mitigate made these damages worse. So we're not going to, cover XYZ portion of the claim. You also want to provide timely notification of the loss to the carrier. As soon as they declare national state of emergency and name the storm is probably when you want to reach out to your agent to file that claim, because early bird gets the worm. So the sooner you file a claim, think of it as a giant queue line. If you're first in the line, the adjuster is going to be out to your property first, and they'll release payment to your property first. the longer you wait, the further down that queue line you're going to be. And, you might be, you might not have somebody come out to your property for a week or two. So, make sure you're acting, quickly. You're providing timely notice on, notification of the claim. And then you also have a responsibility to cooperate with the insurance company investigation. So, that means being available to have them come on site. When you're working with a public adjuster, they'll handle all the communication with the carrier. So, they may try to ask you questions about the condition of the property or what you saw or didn't see. And, sometimes those words can be used against you. So, make sure if you don't know, you just say, I don't know. Talk to my public adjuster, or just don't even relay it to your facility managers as well, that you've engaged with somebody, because they'll go up to them and start asking them questions about the condition of the roof or the pipes before the storm. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of situations where these facility managers or engineers are really excited to showcase their expertise, and sometimes it backfires when they're talking to a claims adjuster, and it can negate a large portion of the claim, or result in them saying, this is, previous damage, or this was like it before the storm. So just be careful when dealing with them, but obviously you have to cooperate. Understand, your limits. There's sometimes provisions in the policy that can be buried on the 68th page in subsection C. That can be a little carve out that would, limit what they would pay. So an example would be wind-driven rain. So essentially what that means is, unless there's a giant opening in the facade of the structure and, water started lapping in from a storm created opening, they're not going to pay for it. So just be wary of some of that knowledge. We'll review policies, kind of point out, what could be problematic within the policy language. And also understand, when it comes to these policies, certain things like, docks, marinas, pool equipment, parking structures, pickleball courts, tennis courts, any additional amenities may not be covered unless they're specifically listed on the policy. One of the big things we see after these hurricanes is pools, getting destroyed or having, 2 feet of sand in them. And pools aren't covered unless specifically stated. So, just having to pump the water out, get the sand out, and then fix all the equipment. You're looking at close to, $1 million in some cases. So just understand that those items may not be covered, and, talk to your agent about binding those coverages. The last thing, and we kind of touched on it, is storm chasers. So you're going to have people coming in from all over the country. A lot of times, you'll have roofers from Iowa coming in, and they'll just operate under a Florida roofing company's license. And especially with mitigation companies, they'll do this too. They may not have the expertise to do, flood mitigation work. You don't want your property to be the first property that they've ever, mitigated storm work for. And you have to understand that these mitigation companies get paid on how much work they do. So they'll go in there and, the more they tear out and the more work they perform, the more they get paid. And that number comes off your total limit of insurance. So we've gotten involved in a lot of situations where we've had to punt, ServPro Iowa off a property because we looked at what they were trying to invoice and some of the stuff they were charging for. And, they basically were double charging for, let's say, when it comes to drywall, they'd be drying out drywall that they eventually have to tear out when they should have just been tearing it out to begin with. So they'll double charge you there. So obviously another benefit for bringing in a public adjuster who understands these things is to kind of control the mitigation process and make sure that all the work they're doing and performing is covered by insurance, and is the proper way to do it. And what they're doing, they're documenting along the way. They're not, tearing out things that we want the insurance company to see. So we want to make sure we're getting, sometimes these insurance companies can't make it to the property in time, but we make sure that they give authorization to say, yes, it's okay for you to perform these cuts and, just throw them in a dumpster And we'll kind of like, keep that evidence and take a lot of photos to prove to them. And then we have it in writing that they said it was okay to do it. Lastly, unlicensed, unbonded, and uninsured, just to cover your association, you know, from any legal liability. You want to make sure whoever comes out there is licensed, carries insurance, has a bond, and that there is a way for you to have legal recourse, in case they don't perform the duties that they were contracted to do, or they make it worse, or there's some type of incident. You want to make sure that everyone's covered and protected legally, from that standpoint.
Guys,
Steve,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, Steve, do you have anything to add
Oh,
on this?
yeah, don't hire anybody off a billboard. I know people pay lots of money for billboard ads, but these are not people you want to deal with, whether attorneys, public adjusters, anybody in insurance claims. This is why we do events like this, so you get trustworthy people. And yes, I just saw a comment come in, make sure every contractor has a performance bond. Contractors go out of business all the time. You want to make sure you protect yourself. I think you mentioned in the next slide, Gil. You mentioned words matter. Don't put yourself in that position. You as managers, do you know when the insurance companies have what their deadlines are? Are you going to sign a proof of loss? Public adjusters, we do our own construction estimate based on today's insurance costs, and we're the ones that send all the proper documentation on a pretty package under that proof of loss document to expedite things. Gil had mentioned earlier about the order of things as far as claims. And the reality is, if association hires a public adjuster after a storm, they get moved to the top of the pile. I want to talk briefly about, how the process works when a claim is filed. Let's say for a storm. These insurance adjusters get overloaded. They get assigned 300-400 claims. They want to run through these. They do drive-by inspections. They do not give accurate dollar estimates. They actually enjoy it when the association does hire a public adjuster because we do the work for them. And then we get that claim gets moved to the top of the pile, which means what? Which means you get money quicker in your hands. So, during the storm, these insurance adjusters are overloaded, and their first job is to do what's called setting a reserve, setting an amount they think the claim is, and they may say it's $100,000. The insurance company goes back, they put $100,000 in escrow, and they incentivize that adjuster to settle that claim as much under $100,000 as possible. How do we know this? Because most of our adjusters came from the insurance side. So the problem is it costs $500,000 to make the proper repairs because the insurance adjusters did not do a proper and thorough inspection, especially during the storm. As I mentioned, they do drive-by inspections. So having us in, getting us in right after the event, via storm, fire, any type of event, get us in right after, because that helps us set the expectation right from the start, telling them, no, this claim should be $500,000 and here's why. And then he'll set the reserve at the proper amount. If we come in months later and he sets that reserve too low, it's an uphill battle for him having to go back to the insurance company and explains why he made a mistake and didn't set the reserve properly from the start. We'll do it, and we do it all the time, and we do it pretty successfully. But everybody always asks me, well, why? Maybe I'll bring you in later. Why should I bring you in now? That's a huge reason to bring you in now. Bringing us in right after the event sets the reserve quicker, gets money in your hand quicker, and settles the claim a lot faster rather than dragging it on.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, we already kind of touched on several of these. Anybody who you are contracting with, if you didn't have an agreement with them ahead of time, whoever just make sure you properly vet any contractor. So, ask for references, check their Google reviews, always type in their company name and lawsuit, and you can figure out how many times they've been sued, if they've been sued, and for what. Just make sure they're able to perform the work that you need performed, and you're not going to run into issues with them, taking your deposit and folding up shop and then heading out of state, because we have seen that happen far too often. So when we talk about, what are the steps to managing successful outcome to your property damage claim? So, obviously preparation, pre-planning, assembling your team ahead of time, resuming operations and occupancy. Everybody wants to get their tenants back in as quickly as possible and making sure that, it's a safe, clean environment that they're coming back to. And then we already talked about, communication and making sure everybody's in the loop. So, as the recovery progresses, you can give updates on, the mitigation company is in here doing tear out and dry out. The next stage is going to be, you know, making the drywall repairs. Then the insurance, just giving updates on the claim and timeframes on when people can move back in. Managing your insurance proceeds. So this is a big one. Oftentimes in these situations when we're involved, there's a large initial payment to cover the mitigation work. So that's to pay your emergency service contractor, and then some additional money to begin initial repairs. And then from there, there's going to be anywhere from like 2 to 5 more payments as the gap between, what we're claiming on the insurance claim and what they're agreeing to. So we, over time, basically narrow that the differences between, what they're paying for and what we're writing for. So once we get approval and we say, hey, they just released another $500,000, this is for roofing. It's up to the association to go ahead and, give the contractor the green light to make those repairs and to pay the contractor. Oftentimes we're able to, create, it's called a universal settlement. And within those, it's a large one lump sum payment that goes to the association. And sometimes there may be a situation where, let's say, stuff that wasn't covered, you may be able to, use those insurance proceeds to make those uncovered repairs. So it's really up to the association to manage the proceeds as they get them to finance the reconstruction. Another thing you should be aware of is within HO3 and HO6 policies, there's assessment coverage for the unit owners. So if you do have to charge assessments, that can be reimbursed through their own individual policies. It's not in every HO6 or HO3, but it's in most of them. So there is coverage for them up to a certain amount to cover any assessments. And then lastly, vendor contractors performing quality work, complying with the code, and bring your building up to date. So especially for older buildings, if you have code upgrade coverage in there, there's going to be a large scope of work that needs to be performed to bring your building up to code. And you want to make sure that, your contractors are doing everything up to snuff and that there won't be any issues down the road. And it's a safe, livable space for your tenants to come back to.
So let's talk about code upgrade for a minute, which is called ordinance and law. It's an endorsement in your property policy that most of you should have ordinance and law coverage. I know Daniel says it all the time in his policies. Excuse me. You must have this. And why should you have this, especially if you're in an older property? If we have a storm and you have older windows, guess what? If the windows get blown out, you have to replace them with impact windows. And impact windows are more expensive. So that's a code upgrade, additional expense. That's when your ordinance and law kicks in. I had a situation where I had a flood short out a fire panel. Water came in, shorted out the fire panel. The policy property covered the water damage. But then when you replace a fire panel, guess what? You have to bring your whole property up to current fire code. So I had $90,000 in changes to bringing my building up to current fire code. So ordinance and law kicked in for that. So make sure you have that ordinance and law endorsement in your policy. If you don't know if you have it, confirm with your agent, or we're happy to review the policy for you.
And yeah, just kind of touching more on why is a proper recovery important? Obviously, you have a lot of condo unit owners who can see their condo as an investment. So, quickly restoring that property prevents depreciation and value loss of that property. If it's a mixed use facility, and let's say you have a business or two on the first couple floors, or any business running out, inside people's units. Allowing those businesses to resume operations quickly is very, financially important. Then the long-term sustainability of the building. So, making sure you perform proper repairs so there aren't leaks or cracks further down the road, which, can be very costly repairs. Getting it done right the first time is extremely important. Reputation management. So this is a big one that we've seen, especially in disaster areas, where association managers didn't handle the claim properly. And when their contract is up for renewal, the association decides to, punt them off the property and go with somebody else. We've also seen it work the other direction where association managers were rock stars. The claim went smoothly, the reconstruction occurred relatively quickly, and they're referred to other buildings nearby. So, this can be make or break for a lot of association managers in the recovery process. Obviously, compliance and legal obligations. You have legal requirements, and you can have some liability if your tenants do not return to a safe or healthy building. So, don't open yourself up to any legal issues. And then insurance and financial considerations. So, if further damage keeps occurring after one of these storms due to, a bad reconstruction, insurance companies may not be willing to insure you, or your rates may go up. So, if you do it properly, let's say you have an older building, and you're able to replace the roof and bring the rest of the building up to code, you may see a benefit in your insurance premiums the following year. So, there's a lot of things that proper recovery can impact. And these are just, some of the main ones that we like to outline for people. Here's just a little chart of weather and climate disasters. So this is up until last year. As you can see, the cost and frequency of these events keeps going up. So that's probably why you've seen all these insurance premiums go up. As they have to pay this out, essentially, these insurance companies have to pay out more. So the global cost of reinsurance goes up, and then they have to pay for that, which then gets passed on to you, the consumer, in the form of a higher premium. So, just last year there was 100, so let me go on to the next one here. Last year there was 27 billion-dollar disasters across the United States. So as it pertains to Florida, your insurance premiums go up obviously because of events in Florida from, Hurricane Debbie and Milton and Helene, but also from just disasters around the country that all impact the global cost of reinsurance. So this is why we operate around the country. There's no shortage of events that are going to occur. But seeing rising premiums is not exclusive to Florida, but they may be going up at a higher rate than the rest of the country just because of our exposure to hurricanes, which tend to be, the largest cost driver for claims. This also doesn't include the California wildfires.
Yeah,
So.
just to make a quick point to emphasize this, a lot of people are worried about filing claims, as I mentioned earlier in this class. When it comes to natural disasters like storms, the insurance company can't ding you for a claim for a storm. They ding everybody at the same time. And what Gil just mentioned was called the global cost of reinsurance. Fortunately, we're in a soft market this year, and everybody's premium have been reduced this year. But we've yet to feel these effects, and hopefully they've raised it enough in the last previous years that they won't hit us up a lot coming to next year when all these claims from these storms get paid out.
So here are just some case studies. This is a recent one that we worked down in Miami. There was a unit fire, as you can tell from the picture on the right. This is just some of the damage inside the individual unit. So we were able to generate an initial payment of around $80,000. to cover the cost of mitigation and emergency services and begin initial repairs. And then we were able to secure an additional $455,000, for the association to make those repairs that affected some of the common areas.
Yeah, actually, we got another $500,000 for that claim to repair the other side of the building, which was affected by water damage.
Excellent. I have to update that one. So here's a Hurricane Zeta claim that we worked. So this took about a year. Initially, the insurance company only offered $50,000 to this association for all their damage. We were able to generate a final settlement of $4.2 million. So that's about a 8,300% increase on that one. It was pretty egregious. This was Cape Hayes Resort and Hurricane Ian as well. So they handled the claim themselves from the beginning. This is what the property looked like. They initially received $5 million, which is a good amount of money. But they realized that their invoices and estimates for all the repairs was drastically higher than that. And we were able to get them another $10 million and fully fund their repairs. And then lastly, so this one is an association that we worked in Hurricane Ian. You can see the drone footage. This is all one association. You can see the devastation goes for almost a mile. So they brought us in the day after the storm. We were able to generate an advance payment of $4 million so they could clean all this debris up and, board everything up and do the proper mitigation on the property. And then by the end of it, we were able to secure north of $40 million for them. They had fully funded repairs. They were actually the first big association to complete all the repairs and have all their residents move back in. And that whole process took about 8 months from the time they hired us to the end of their reconstruction. So that was a major win for us, to the point where we were able to secure a testimonial video from their board president, which I'm not going to make you guys sit through and listen to it. It's on our YouTube page that you can visit with a bunch of other testimonials that we have. But I think that speaks to the quality of the work product and the results that we're able to generate for associations and homeowners, after they suffer a loss. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. You can also reach out to us directly. My contact information is on there. Steve's contact information is on here as well. We've got I think if you click to that, it'll take you to our YouTube page so you can learn more about us. But appreciate you guys taking time out here Wednesday to listen to us. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We're happy to stick around and answer those for you. Steve, I believe you had some announcements as well.
Yeah, I was actually starting to answer some of the questions, but if you can take over while I do the announcements, that would be great. All right. Well, that concludes the education portion. I hope you found the information relevant. Hopefully, again, if you have any other questions, contact Gil or myself. Again, coming from the property management industry, there's so much more information that we didn't even cover here. That's great. Call us, get to know us. We'd love to come see your property. Sign up with our pre-loss program, which is absolutely free. Like I said earlier, we do a policy review to make sure you're properly covered. So we want to take care of that. In closing, if we have the list of sponsors that are going out, again, you have an AC contractor, roofing contractor, engineer, insurance agent. Someone had a question about, didn't think they were properly insured. As far as the flood mapping, contact Daniel. He's awesome. He can help you with that. Just want to announce a couple of other upcoming events. They're on October 24th. There's a 2025 legal update being done by Steve Rappaport, an attorney up in Palm Beach. Class gives board members are one class, so you require credits. So continue looking for more information for that. On November 4th, there's Problem Solving by Rudy Forgen of Benjamin Moore. There's another webinar coming up for that. On November 11th, we have the Biz Now panel and expo for condo HOA associations. That's being held at the Dakota Building in Dana, and that's from 7:30 to 11:30. And then on November 5th, we have the Miami Condo HOA Expo. If you haven't gone to one of those are really great. And then on November 20th, we have the Clarkson Berg Elevator Consultants will present a course on maintaining your elevator. So keep an eye out for that. Again, we'd like to thank all of our partners. Special thank you again for Peggy to putting all this together. She does a great job putting these webinars together. So we had 87 participants, of which 81 are still on there. So fantastic. This is a great turnout. And I'd like to thank each and every one of those 81 of you out there for joining us today. And again, we're here for you guys. Do not be afraid to reach out to us, shoot us an email, call our cell phones. We're here to help you guys through the toughest parts, whether it be some type of property damage claim or just any questions regarding to any one of the trades that we have here as far as to any of our sponsors. So thank you all for attending.
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to go through a question and answer here. I think there's maybe like 4 questions. So the first one of, how should I choose the amount of excess liability coverage for my association? That's something to talk to your agent or broker about. I don't really have a good answer for that. Might be in your
Call Daniel. Daniel will have
yeah. Daniel's got you on that one.
Daniel will get you on that one. Daniel.
I'm here. Wait, what did I miss?
How should I choose the amount of excess liability coverage for my association?
Oh, that's a good question. How do I choose it? I guess it depends on the size of the association to start. I would look at what you're carrying in regular general liability. The goal of excess is really to make sure you have for when the general runs out. So you really want to make the better choices. How much am I carrying in general liability that I'm willing to pay for? Because the premium will be significantly larger on the regular GL. And then look at how much you want to carry an umbrella. Most communities that I handle will carry, for example, they'll carry the 1 million, 2 million on GL and then carry a 10 million in excess because they obviously don't want to pay the premium for 10 million on the core GL. But again, it really depends on the size of the community and how much you're carrying in primary GL. Then I can comment on how much I think you should carry in excess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So next one was with aged elevators, potential park delays, potential lawsuits by disabled residents. I'm wondering if there's some type of insurance coverage to house a resident in a hotel. So, this is a little tricky. Typically, the individual unit owner will have ALE coverage, which is additional living expenses. So that should be covered by their insurance. I'm assuming this means like if the elevators are down,
in the case of a
disabled
loss.
resident, what can they do? There would have to be some type of insurable event that would trigger that. So, I'm not sure if the association is responsible for necessarily housing that person. Steve, do you have any answers for that one? Or Daniel, do you want to chime in on that specific situation?
Yeah, you have to have an insurable loss to have that kick in. So that'd be something you'd have to review your policy with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with what Steve is saying. Insurance covers insurable losses. Depart delays is not an insurable loss that I can tell you I've ever seen before. So
tell them to modernize their elevators.
Yeah.
Next one was I notified the management and the board of my co-op of a leak in my unit. No one checked the leak, which I thought was the roof. I kept insisting after I lost my renter to mold. When I flew in to insist the roof be checked, they did find a leak, but did not reimburse me for the deductible or loss of income. Do I have a case? I am a board member. That is a tricky situation.
So my first question would be, is the leak from the roof or from the unit above? And if it's from the roof, that's a situation where the association's responsible and they should make the repairs. I'm not sure if you filed the claim under your own HO6 policy and you had to pay for your deductible. That's something you can go after the association again if it came from a roof. If it came from a unit owner above, you probably may want to talk to that unit owner and see if they subrogate against his insurance company if he has insurance, or just go after that unit owner himself for the deductible. A lot of variables here to consider.
Let's see. All right, I think that let's see. Yeah, I think that was the last question. So I think that concludes everything for us.
I like the anonymous attendee. Looks like having an adjuster makes a huge difference. Absolutely. That's why I got into this business after property management. So yes, have an adjuster, call us. We're happy to do that. Yeah. All right, we're good to close. Thanks again for everybody attending. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. And once again, special thanks to Peggy. Hope she feels better. I'm sure she'll be back next month yapping away like she loves to. We'd love to hear her. Best wishes to her recovery, and thank you all, and have a great rest of your week.
Oh, Julia, I think you're on mute.
Good job, Steve. Good job, Gil, as always. It's at this point, I'm getting tired of telling you good job. You should do a bad job just so I can say you do a good job on some of them.
I'll screw
Next
up the
time.
next one.